Temple is the most famous temple on the island, situated in Airtam, facing the sea and commanding an impressive view. It is built over a plot of an area of 12 hectares, 30 acres, and it is said to be the largest Buddhist temple in Malaysia. It is also an important pilgrimage center for Buddhists from Hong Kong, the Philippines, Singapore and other countries in Southeast Asia. Most visitors approach the temple as they ascend a stairway, roofs of which provide shelter to a multitude of shops selling souvenirs and other, mostly secular, commodities. They pass by a so-called liberation pond. Following the Buddhist tradition of merit-making, turtles may be released into freedom, albeit a limited one. The Kwek temple itself consists of several large prayer halls and pavilions for assembly and prayer. Statues of Buddha, various bodhisattvas as well as Chinese gods are being venerated. The architectural features include carved pillars, fine woodwork, mostly painted in bright colors, and a plethora of lanterns add to the visual impression. Flower gardens are also part of the temple complex. There is a cable car to carry pilgrims and visitors further uphill. On the elevated platform, there is a fish pond, and the towering statue of Kuan Yin, goddess of mercy, which is worshipped by women to beget children. The monks and nuns, who are housed in a monastery and who are in charge maintenance and operation of the temple complex, consider it as a spiritual retreat to attain salvation. This entire complex of temples was built over a period from 1890 to 1930, an inspirational initiative of Bolin, the first abbot of the temple. The main draw in the complex is the striking 7-story pagoda of Ramavai, pagoda of 10,000 Buddhas, with 10,000 alabaster and bronze statues of Buddha, and the 36,57 meters, 120.0 feet, tall bronze statue of Kuan Yin, the goddess of mercy. Mahayana Buddhism, Theravada Buddhism and traditional Chinese rituals blend into a harmonious whole, both in the temple architecture and artwork as well as in the daily activities of worshippers. The temple is heavily commercialized with shops at every level and inside the main temple complexes selling all religious paraphernalia. The history of Kekalaksi can be traced to the late 19th century. It began with the arrival of a priest, Venerable Bolin in Penang in 1885, who came to Penang with the aim of obtaining donations for the renovation of a monastery in Kusan, Fukau, China. Instead, the trustees of the Kuan Yin Teng, Kon Hok Kong, temple in Pitt Street, the oldest temple in Penang, decided to appoint him as the new resident priest of the temple. Venerable Bolin accepted the post as he was struck by the deep devotion of the Penang Chinese to Buddhism. Later, he discovered that a sprawling hill, in Airtam village, outside of Georgetown, has the right feng shui to build a Buddhist monastery. Naming the hill Huoxan Crane Hill, because it resembled a crane spreading its wings, Venerable Bolin decided to build a temple, to be known as Huoxan Kwekalik Jansi, which would act as a retreat center for Buddhists. With the blessing of his superiors and the support of some generous contributors, the Kekalaksi temple began to take shape. The earliest building completed was the Hall of Bodhisattvas in 1891, followed by the Hall of Devas in 1895, the Hall of Defoe Era in 1896, the Tower of Sacred Books in 1899. In 1904, when the first phase of temple complex was completed, Venerable Bolin returned to China and paid homage to the Qing Emperor, Kuangzi, who later presented him with a set of Buddhist sutras, the emperor's handwritten scripts and several other relics. The well-known Empress Cixi, of the Qing dynasty, also wrote and presented handwritten scripts to the temple. Until today, all these heritage relics are still kept in the temple. The royal scripts were converted into plaques, and the writings were displayed at the Hall of Defoe Era and the archway of the Pagoda of a Million Buddhas. In 1905, Venerable Bolin was ceremoniously installed as the first abbot and chief priest of the Kekalaksi. He served the temple for more than 15 years, 1891 to 1906. Venerable Puntong succeeded Venerable Bolin and built some of the temple's finest buildings, such as the Pagoda of a Million Buddhas. The building of the pagoda started in 1915 and was completed in 1930. The pagoda is about 100 feet high and its innovative design is a combination of Chinese, Thai and Burmese architecture. This pagoda, also known as the Kwek Pagoda, is the most famous landmark in Penang. Beside the pagoda is the Hall of Great Vows, which is a shrine honoring Bodhisattva Tetsang Ksitagarbha, the savior of the lost souls. Venerable Poon Tong continued the work of Venerable Bolin with great dedication and devotion. Under the leadership of this second chief abbot 1906 to 1938, the monastery was further expanded and the teaching of Buddhism was extended to include Buddhist understanding and practices that help achieve world peace and joy. The third chief abbot of Kekalaksi was Venerable Anying, who succeeded Venerable Poon Tong in 1938. Venerable Anying continued the work of building the temple and died in 1953. Kekalaksi then went through a difficult period and faced problems especially in getting a chief abbot from China, as China was then undergoing political and cultural changes. It was not until 1968 that the fourth chief abbot, Venerable Pei Aisheng from Taiwan, was appointed as the head priest of Kekalaksi. Venerable Pei Aisheng was well trained in the preaching of the Dharma and using his profound intellect, wrote many books illustrating the doctrine. Venerable Tat Nen, the fifth chief abbot, who served for 8 years, from 1990 to 1997, succeeded Venerable Pei Aisheng. The last decade 1990 to 2000, has brought in many important changes and development to the historic Kekalaksi temple complex. New buildings have been added whilst old buildings have been renovated or rebuilt, characterizing the decade as a period of rapid outstanding growth. The temple's sixth chief abbot, Venerable Jet Heng, made history in December 2002 when he was the first Malaysian officially appointed as the head priest of Kekalaksi. Venerable Jet Heng has made significant contributions to Kekalaksi over the past 2 decades. His contribution is evident in the completion of the majestic statue of Kuan Yin, the Guangdong Grand Hall and other new developments in Kekalaksi. Kekalaksi is known not only for the beauty of its historic buildings, which attract thousands of tourists every year, but also for being a center for Chinese culture and Buddhist teaching. The dissemination of Buddhism through organized events and special occasions has benefited many devotees and followers of the Buddhist way of life. It is hoped that further dissemination of Buddhist knowledge will be conducted in Kekalaksi, a center par excellence in Buddhist education, bring about better understanding and practices of Buddhist teachings to help create a more harmonious world.